At this time, I'll call to order the City of Joliet Free Council meeting for July 31st, 2023. Mayor Terry Darcy presiding.
We'll begin with roll call. Mayor Darcy.
Here.
Councilman Cardenas. Absent. Councilman Clement.
Here.
Councilman Guerrero.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
Here.
Councilman Mudrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Here.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Here.
Mayor, did you want to say?
Yeah, if I could just take a minute, we've got to introduce tonight, we'd like to introduce our interim corporation counsel, Todd Greenberg, and I was just going to ask him to tell a little bit about himself to everyone who hasn't met him or doesn't know his background.
Hello, everybody. I'm with the law firm Vansel Glink. Telling you, I started off, was born in Danville, Illinois, went to the public schools there, also went to Danville Junior College, and then the last 2 years I went to what was then called Sangamon State University in Springfield, and worked my way through college. And then I got very lucky, and I was able to go to Notre Dame Law School to get my law degree. Not a little added benefit, I happened to go there the 2 years that Joe Montana was playing quarterback. So those were some nice little games there. Practiced law in Danville for a little over a year and then moved to Bloomington, Illinois, and I've lived in the Bloomington Normal area for the last 43 years. Started off as an assistant state's attorney, and that's why I made the move from Danville to Bloomington. Ended up getting into municipal law with being deputy corporation counsel for the town of Normal. Then I was corporation counsel for the city of Bloomington for almost 23 years and finished up my legal career at that point with city of Springfield. And then I took a few years off, and a little earlier this year I was having coffee with somebody who asked me if I wanted to consider working for Ansel Glink, and I said yes. So I've been there for about 4 months now, and then, as you know, there was a change here in the corporation counsel's office, and we needed to, the city needed to get a warm body on board, and there was kind of a time pressure, so there was a letter of agreement between Ansel Glink and the city. Besides me, if for some reason I was not available, the firm has 2 other attorneys that are available to fill in if needed. That's Steve Mart, who works out of the Bloomington office, and Daniel Bolin, who works out of the Chicago office. So there's me, and there's also 2 other attorneys on deck if needed be. And the idea is I'm here, and our firm is here just temporarily until such time as you can make a permanent decision on corporation counsel.
Thank you.
Next is citizens to be heard on agenda items. Is there anyone that would like to speak on an agenda item this evening? Seeing none, we'll have the interim city manager review tomorrow's agenda items.
Great, thank you, Krista. So we'll have, as usual, our committee reports tomorrow, and then we'll jump into appointments from the mayor, and then moving on to our consent agenda. We have 3 areas for approval of minutes that are contained in the consent agenda. Obviously, we have invoices to be paid, and then we can move on to the council memos. Relatively light agenda compared to the last few you've had. But I'll just briefly give you an overview of each of these agenda items. And again, if you have questions, let me know, and myself or staff will try to address those for you tonight. So, Council Memo 39123, this is award of a contract relative to Hickory and Spring Creek cleaning, and the low bid was to Greg Dobchik Excavating in the amount of $100,000, and that is to continue to ensure proper flow of Hickory Creek and Spring Creek. It's something we do with those channels from time to time. Council Memo 39223 is a award of a professional service agreement for storm sewer GIS mapping. This continues the city's plan to keep growing the GIS database of its utility assets. The low bid was Twig Technologies in the amount of $220,000. Council Memo 394-23 is the purchase of water metering equipment from Core and Main. LP in the amount of $134,520. This purchase is to provide the necessary supplies for maintenance and upgrades as we need to do improvements to water meters, the radios on the meters, or infrastructure related to the radio reading towers. So this puts the equipment on hand we need for those repairs. Council Memo 39523 is the first amendment to a sanitary sewer investigation contract we had awarded to the RJN Group. The amount of this amendment is $27,515. Just provides for additional service to monitor extension of flow monitoring on Chicago Street and some GIS updates that need to be done on the work that they've been doing for us. Council Memo 396-23 is a change order. It's change order number 7 related to our sanitary sewer rehabilitation program. This is for a contract we had previously awarded to Performance Pipelining, Inc. This change order amount is in the $15,562.21. Council Memo 397-23. This would be approval of the payment of our 2023 wastewater discharge permits. This is payment to the state of Illinois, to the Environmental Protection Agency of the state, this payment is an annual fee that allows us essentially to discharge our sewage treatment plants into Illinois waterways. So that's it on the consent agenda items. Was there any question on any of those items? All right, moving on then to.
I do have some questions, Mayor. Sure. On 39823, Mr. Todd, this is nothing against you. I was reading over this contract, and it's 25 hours a week in office hours, and then council meeting attendance at 240. So are the council meetings in addition to the 25-hour office hours?
No, they're intended to be part of the 25 hours per week.
Okay, and then afterwards, what about, since you live in Bloomington, do we have to pay you mileage and hotel fees if you need to stay here?
No, that would be handled through my firm. It is not billable to the city of Joliet.
Okay. And second of all, it said, after the, if you need more help, then we have to hire somebody else in addition to your 25 hours if there's something that you can't handle. Is that correct?
That's correct. However, it's, I've been practicing municipal law 30 years now, and I haven't ran into something I can't handle unless it's something exceptionally specialized.
And then you'd be here when we hire somebody to train the new person coming in, is that correct?
No.
No,
Not
that's
unless,
incorrect?
not unless you want to amend the contract. The idea was that probably whoever you hire would probably be competent to already do all those things.
Well, I'm just looking out for taxpayer money, and I think in the end, $6,000 a week is an awful lot of money for an interim person when we already have 2 attorneys on staff. So these are my feelings, and I represent the residents of Joliet. That's what I do. So nice to have met you, but those are my concerns. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I'll just make the request that item 39823 be removed for a separate vote.
Yes, it'll be under agenda item, be voted separately tomorrow.
Because right now we had it under,
I'm not sure why it showed up, to be honest, on pre-council that way. On the council agenda, it is listed under agenda item, so,
that's it.
thank you.
No, and I had instructed city clerk to place it as a regular agenda item, not a consent agenda item. So again, don't know why it's showing up in the consent agenda that way, but on the regular Tuesday night agenda, it is not part of the consent agenda. Was there any other questions on Council Memo 398-23? All right, the next item then under the regular agenda is Council Memo 399-23. This is award of 2023 resurfacing contract B to PT Faro in the amount of $2,846,104.14. Mayor?
Yeah, Larry.
One request, Greg, if you could, at this point, we're at the end of July, 1st of August tomorrow. If I remember right, Kevin Singh gave a rough estimate, about 18 million in roads, bridges, and sidewalks in the budget this year. Where are we at on those contracts? How much has been let and how much is to be let?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, for the next meeting, not for tomorrow necessarily.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
Thanks. Thank you.
There's nothing under licenses and permit applications or public hearings on the agenda, so we move on to ordinances and resolutions. The next council memo is 401-23. And this is a resolution approving an intergovernmental grant agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation for the acceptance of a statewide planning and research funds grant for the Joliet I-80 Des Plaines River Bridge Community Plan. So this is a continuation of work related to the impacts that the new Des Plaines River Bridge has on the surrounding area. There's been previous studies that have been done to identify the impacts, the disadvantages to the communities. This is now a grant fully funded by federal dollars and state dollars, so there's no dollars coming out of the city for this. We are basically just being tapped as a better, I guess, local connection to help get the plan implemented. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I have a question, Mayor. So essentially, it's a study in mitigation where possible to have impacts on those businesses and residents that live around the construction area. Do they do this with all their projects?
They do now for those level of impacts,
Is
yes.
this something new?
It's something newer, yes. Something we wouldn't have seen decades ago.
Yeah, because I mean, oftentimes businesses, when it comes to the state doing Route 6 or Route 30, get decimated. But now they have, this program isn't just for residential, it's also for any businesses affected?
You know, again, to your point, again, the way we've done interstate federal highway programs in the past did cause a lot of damages and impacts that were never accounted for. So now part of the planning process is to do these programs to try to address those.
Do they have any money for mitigation if they do the best they can with their planning now? And there's still, a verifiable damage?
Yes.
That's not part of the program yet?
There is mitigation dollars in here to actually be spent on physical improvements, whether those are roadways, beautifications, so on and so forth.
What about lost money for small businesses?
Don't know, I'd have to check into that.
Could you
I don't-
check into that?
yeah, I don't believe that's part of what's contemplated, though, in how you can spend the mitigation dollars.
See if you can check into that,
I'll make a
confirm
note.
from
Yep.
them. Thank you, Mayor.
So Rod, is this part of that where, how many homeowners are gonna be affected, and it has to do with studying the movement and the change of them going from where they're at now to the new homes they'd have to go to?
Yeah, it's really understanding the whole, there's a geographic area that's outlined when the new bridge is implemented. It's going to impact the alignment of existing streets. It's going to impact the alignment of existing parcels, both residential and business. There's been previous work done in this space relative to the impacted neighborhood and community. So this is really just the next phase of really engaging us as the city and the actual stakeholders in the impacted geography as to what can be done to make this less impactful on their properties and their homes.
So this isn't eminent domain payment, this is a study on how we can make this move the smoothest and easiest and work for everybody, and then what to do with the land when the bridge is done, and we've had to make those changes during their term of the build, right?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Council Memo 402-23, this is a resolution approving our designated financial institutions. We're requesting that we add Commerce Bank and remove Bank Financial FSB. This is a list of the depositories that the Finance Department then is authorized to place funds with. Council Memo 403-23, as a resolution declaring the city's official intent to reimburse certain capital expenses from the proceeds of future debt issues. So this relates to the fact that Illinois EPA notified the city that it did not have sufficient money to fund one of our combined sewer overflow projects that we requested funding for. This resolution basically enables us to capture any dollars we spent related to this if we chose to pursue debt to fund this. If we don't have this resolution, then we're not able to include those costs. This is not an authorization to actually issue debt. It's just an ability to have this in place so we can recapture any dollars that if we do choose to issue debt for that project.
Now, as far as issuing the debt to cover the project, I understand the pool of money from the federal EPA wasn't enough, right? They didn't have enough in the loans. Can we use future loans to retire any of that debt? Or is it only got to be bond issues in the future?
future loans from,
The EPA.
I presume,
And ask Allison, maybe if you could, you know more about the details of the,
Yeah, no, it would only be for bonds, so we would have to proceed with the project due to the compliance schedule. We won't have the opportunity to apply for a loan for this specific project.
the next item then is Council Memo 404-23. It's a resolution declaring certain City of Joliet property as surplus. I believe everything on here is a motor vehicle, and you have the list with you in your packets. Council Memo 405-23 is a resolution for property acquisition. This is land needed to complete the Greenfield Lift Station Replacement Project. All the parcels are being purchased from one trust, and the total amount of the land acquisition is $50,000. And then we have Council Memo 406-23. This is a resolution accepting a local arts agency general operating grant. This is from the Illinois Arts Council Agency, and it's a grant amount of $21,000. And that's all we had on our agenda for council memos.
Next is public comment. Is there anyone that would like to speak under public comments this evening? Seeing none, there is a request for closed session. Is there a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel, collective bargaining, land acquisition or conveyance, pending or threatened litigation, after which the meeting will be adjourned?
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried.